Hello and welcome to the programme. Now, life in the Ukrainian countryside may not seem very exciting to most people, but one American traveller has set out to change those perceptions. Peter Santenello is embracing his 6 weeks in one Ukrainian village. Now, the San Francisco native is giving his vlog viewers a chance to see the everyday joys and hardships of life in Osypenko. Peter is joining us via Skype from Kiev today. Hi, Peter. Thanks very much for joining us.
Hi, thank you.
We've been watching your videos in the office today, and it looked like your 6 weeks in Osypenko was really interesting. So can you firstly tell us a bit about why you decided Osypenko and why Ukraine to begin with?
Sure. Well, I'm in Ukraine about half-time. I moved here in November. And Osypenko came from my assistant, actually. I said, I need a place. I'd like a place near the sea, a family that's not alcoholics. I set up a few criteria, and she came up with this family. So I didn't really have any control over that. And I know the geography of Ukraine, but I'd never been to that part of the country. So it was all new for me.
I see. And can you tell us a bit about life in Osypenko? What were the daily challenges that you faced?
Okay, I was very, very fortunate to have an amazing family. So the first goals were a little bit selfish in that I just wanted to work on language learning and see this different type of lifestyle. Mm-hmm. The biggest challenges, it's sometimes they would just combine to make a challenging day. For example, the heat could be 35 degrees inside. I'd be low on protein because they're eating primarily bread and potatoes, which is very used to, but I'm not. So I'd get low on protein. Definitely out of my culture, my language, and all these things. So sometimes they would all combine together to be a challenge. Mm-hmm. But overall, and the family was so amazing. They were so loving and embracing that. You can see in some of the videos this little girl where the family would come out and hug me, or we just have an amazing bond. So it's sort of all that stuff, the difficulties washed away.
Yeah. So this was one of the highlights for you, because I've been to a couple of Ukrainian villages as well in the past, and it's always been the hospitality that's really been kind of one of the surprising things. And it was the same for you, obviously.
Yeah, and that was my whole goal of this project, because as you know, in the West, primarily Ukraine is, shown through bad politics, bad banking, or war. And the point was to show what I think is very special about the country, which is the inside through the people. And that was the story I was going for. And again, I was very fortunate to get this family because we got a great story out of them.
And what was your daily routine when you were living with this family?
Okay, so this family is religious. I'm not a religious person, but they're into Protestantism. They're not Orthodox. Mm. So they would start at 5 in the morning with work. I'd get up around 6. Prayer was at 8 for 20 minutes or so, breakfast afterwards. And it would vary. Some days digging the well. Almost like a theme for my whole trip. When I got there, the well digging started, and when I left, we hit water.
Yeah. And can you tell us a bit about this story, actually, because this is one of the centerpieces of your video work about the well and the digging. Can you tell us a bit more about the background of this story?
Well, they're from Avdiivka, and before they don't have running water or jobs, and they had both of those things in Avdiivka. So they've been taking water from their neighbor's well, which is the next property over. Their neighbor's not there these days, so they need more water. When they said we're going to dig a well, I thought we were going to bring a machine in. And,
well, that'd be too easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, grab some shovel. So as hard as that is, and I can't take credit for it because there's this guy, neighbor Oleg, that did most of the work. There was something very cool about it, very collective about it. We'd all hang around the well. We'd work together. We'd take breaks together. We'd laugh together. So I think that's the specialness that you can find in this part of the world. When you remove all these modern conveniences and the economic luxuries, there's something else that comes and emerges. And that was, in my opinion, what was amazing about it, because we had a lot of time together.
So, in this village of Osypenko, where you were, usually Ukrainian villages are synonymous with like bad roads. It's very quiet, and you came from San Francisco, which is like completely the opposite of this. So, what were the main differences? I mean, what took more getting used to, do you think?
Well, actually, San Francisco has bad roads too, believe it or not. But
well, I'm from Britain. I'm not sure, but I presume that they were good roads.
okay, it's just.
Or what did you hope to get out of it, rather?
I hope to see a different type of life, and through challenges, through putting yourself outside of your comfort zone, that's where you find knowledge and growth, in my opinion. So I could stay in San Francisco and be in my language, be with my networks, be in my comfortable existence, or I can put myself in a completely different world. And that was the goal, to learn. And, this family that fled war, that has nothing materially, has taught me lessons that there's no way I could have gotten at home. And I'll use those for the rest of my life. So I'm very thankful to have this experience.
Yeah. What sort of lessons, then? Can you give us an example?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's cliche, but money doesn't bring happiness, right? But I'll step it up another level and say, you don't need money to have a very harmonious and beautiful family that's cohesive and coherent. And maybe even money pulls away from that tight grip. I don't know. I don't have a family, but I'm in a family unit that is closer than anything I've ever seen in my life, my 40 years.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of foreigners say this as well, who come to Ukraine. They're always surprised, and not just by the hospitality, but how close families are as well, compared to, say, even from where I'm from, in Britain or in the States, in Canada.
Well, when you put yourself in those kids, they all rely on each other very closely, and they'll help each other. And there's something special and very human about that, right? The next thing is happiness. Again, cliche, but happiness is a choice. You can make all the excuses you want in the world, but I saw it through these people. They never complained once. They were very optimistic every day. Again, buying a bottle of water wasn't an option. So it makes you think and ponder, right? I always thought you need a certain amount of resources to be happy, and everyone wants more money. But they should do that with the chokes to wake up with everything.
And you talk about life lessons, but also when you were in Osypenko, you tried some of your entrepreneurial skills. There's like one part of the video where you're trying to sell like products on the beach. What was it? I think it was corn. That was it. You're selling corn on the beach. And can you tell us about that? What happened to you?
But he was
that was my assistant's idea. Why don't you sell corn on the beach? It'll be interesting. I said, okay, sure, I'll do it. And we prepared the corn and went out there. And there's an established system on that beach in Donetsk. And I don't think it's unique to Ukraine, actually.
Yeah.
I think if you went to the Jersey Shore, which I haven't been to, or some busy touristy beach in America, or pretty much anywhere in the world, there's going to be an established system of who controls who sells what in certain places. So I definitely walked in on that turf. So a guy came up to me and wondered what I was doing, and then he got his boss on the phone, and Vladimir, the father of the family, chilled the situation. Basically, I was given 2 hours to sell the rest of my corn and beat it.
And how did you do? Did you manage to get rid of it?
Well, I was like this at the end, so I was giving it away for free.
But I can imagine it was pretty funny as well when these people in the village saw a foreigner on the beach trying to sell corn. What was their reaction? They must have realized.
I thought it would be more a light, uplifting experience, but I got a lot of firm looks out there.
Yeah, and, I can imagine.
some people really opened up and cool, but it is another one of those. Okay, do something that's really uncomfortable, and it's good to. For me, I feel like it's good to get that rush or that instability. It's good to shake things up every once in a while, and that's exactly what that did, because I'm out of my language too, and I'm saying it in Russian, and obviously with an accent.
Yeah. Oh, I see. And also, I wanted to ask you about your expectations of Ukraine, like before you came to the country, and your expectations. Well, not expectations now, but what you think now about the country. How are they different, and how do other people, think about Ukraine? What are their impressions of Ukraine?
Sure. Well, I mean, Kyiv and Osypenko are two separate worlds, right?
Yeah, of course.
So
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I've spent time in Kyiv, and I'm overly impressed with the city and the quality of people that I've met here. That's actually why that's why I'm living here currently. I've decided to live here. Osypenko that's just an out-of-worldly experience if you're coming from the West, and I highly recommend it to anyone if they want to do something sort of bold and
For the adventurous traveler, then.
yeah, it's not for everyone, obviously, but people from I think you're from Great Britain, I'm from the U.S. Let's work in averages. The average person doesn't know much about Ukraine. That's the unfortunate truth. Just like the average person has no clue about Colombia, and they think it's a dangerous war-torn country right now. So fortunate that a lot of the world gets misrepresented through news, or it hangs on to old events that happened a long time ago, and it still thinks things are those, places are that way. So my most friends that I associate with travel, they understand things, so they get it. But I'm not going to be able to convince everyone that this is a very cool place to check out.
Okay. Well, that's great. Peter, thanks very much for your time. And we're glad you enjoyed your trip. And obviously, we'll put a link to your YouTube video so other people can watch them as well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Thanks.
Okay.
So you're watching UAE TV on Head to Head. We were joined by Peter Santenello. He is a vlogger who was recently in eastern Ukraine. You're watching UAE TV.